Welcome back in, Throttle Freaks fans. Week 7, round 7 of 10 here brings us to Road America, the famed Road America track I call the greatest track in the world. I'm Rob Campbell, running production commentary in the booth today. With me, Morgan Smith, subbing in for Richard Sundelis, who for some reason thinks he deserves a vacation for the little bit of work that he actually does around here. But Rich, I'm sure you're watching, so that joke is all on you. Mo, Road America, I think it pretty much speaks for itself. I assume you're almost as big a fan as I am of Road America. I kind of just assume everybody is.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Rob. It was the part of the officials last week, and it was very exciting. I did partake in some races, so a good classic GT3 track. We should have some good racing out there tonight. The track really never disappoints. There's always a couple incidents as well, so it should be exciting for everything.
Now, I know you're a big GT3 driver, a little bit of prototypes too as well. So this, like you said, this is a track that was featured last week in the officials. Did you get any time to run any of the officials last week to kind of try out the track, the new tire model this season at Road America?
I did do a couple official races. Usually lately I've been in a BMW, but I actually took the Lamborghini out for a spin, and the last couple of weeks it's been treating me well. So I think we're going to go back to the mid-engine, especially for Virginia this week too. So officials have been great, back-to-back good tracks, and it's exciting to be back here at Road America after racing there last week.
Yeah, no, I popped in and watched a couple of the top split races just while I was working on some things, and I noticed a trend. It seemed like a lot of the top split drivers were driving the Mercedes in the fixed series, and I'm looking at timing and scoring right now, and we've got two Mercedes actually at the top of the qualifying right now, so I'm not overly surprised to see that, although one of them being J.R. Williams, which is our one of our points leaders coming into this race, so not very surprising to see him up there. But as I mentioned, this is week 7 of 10. Let's take a look at the schedule to see how we've got here and where we're heading. We started off Daytona, Fuji, Spa, followed up for rounds 2 and 3. VIR was round 4. Misano in the rain was round 5. Then we went off to Magny-Cours, the Bend last week. Here we are at Road America. We're going to head to Silverstone next week and finishing up everything with Nürburgring Grand Prix. So a couple F1 FIA Grade 1 tracks to round out the season here, Mo. Big fan of Silverstone and Nürburgring too as well, or?
Yes, I'm excited. I believe GT Simu Cube Series is at Silverstone this week too, so it's flooded with good tracks. I know VIR covered a lot of the grid for a lot of racers this week, but it's nice to have some GT3 at Silverstone this week as well to get ready for next week.
Yeah, it's an interesting track, Silverstone, when you get to GT3 cars. One of those flat F1 style tracks, a lot of runoff. So, but here are the conditions we have tonight. 69-degree air temp going to translate to 71-degree Fahrenheit track temp. So that's very cool track temps actually for our racers out there this evening. Cloudy conditions, no rain in sight compared to what we've seen the last couple weeks where it's been a little balmy, a little foggy, chance of rain here and there. So interesting conditions here tonight. Let's take a look at what's going on track right now as we jump on board with our second place car in Pro Championship leader, tied for the championship actually. We'll take a look at those points in a few moments, but coming into this one, J.R. Williams tied for the points in the pro side, coming in right now sitting second overall in qualifying. What are you seeing out there early on, Mo?
Yeah, like you said, the Mercedes has definitely been very popular lately. I know a couple of my teammates have taken it up as well. I'm eager to see how their tire wear, although with very generous weather settings on the lobby. I think the Mercedes is going to hold up great tonight, and I expect these guys to put up a good fight in the lead for the podium spots.
Yeah, it's definitely a car that's taken advantage of the BOP buff that iRacing did this recent season on it, along with the BMW, another car that, you know, for seasons past hasn't been all that strong, but it's been really favored this season, although I think we only got 2 drivers in the lobby this week here driving the BMW. One of them, Jack Hedgecox, who's a factor at the top of the pro standings. And speaking of the standings, let me take a look at where we're at coming into this one. On the AM side, we've got Josh Goen leading the way. He's comfortably ahead of Pete Mejia. In second place, Kevin Berquist not too far back in third, but then Dave Jensen and Roy Brown move ways back in 4th and 5th. Logjam at 6th for Hillman and Perret tied up there. Sean Provo, Neil Alexander, and Ian Cabana going to round out the top 10 over on the Pro-Am side of things. Much more of the same, but a little closer in the battles. Nicholas Goen, the other Goen brother, leading the way in Pro-Am, 260 points, 15 points up on Jay Steffi. Joshua Chinsky in third. Chinsky with a couple strong races the last few weeks, looking to make moves up towards the front. David Bush the third, only 4 points back of him in fourth. And then we go a little ways back to Gauthier in fifth. Another tie again for 6th between Patrick Farrell and Colin McKenzie. And then another tie for 8th between Venaro and Pineda and Jason Park, and round out the top 10. And then over on the pro side of things, a little smaller field, but just as tight a battles. Actually, our tightest battles here right now between Matt Stadnick and Jared Williams, tied at 317 points coming in this one. And only 1 point back, Jack Hedgecoke's 316 points. A little ways back to Jim Feliz. He's not out of it yet, still with the 3 rounds to go. 282 points, only 3 points up on Dave Menino. So really anything up for grabs in the top 5 of things coming into this one. And then lastly, we've got our teams championship, which not very surprising. Going Racing leading the way with 2 of the drivers leading their respective classes, and Jack Hedgecoke's only 1 point out of top spot in his class 2 as well. But they're up top of SRTE Yellow. Not by a whole lot, only 6 points separating the top 2 teams. SRTE Purple sit comfortably in 3rd. A little ways back to the Madworks Lunatics and the Riot Motorsports rounding out the top 5. So just a quick look at our points standings there, Mo, and one of those mid-motor cars you mentioned right here on board with David Bush III. Got himself up into 4th place right now, our 2nd place Pro-Am driver. So nice showing right now by the Lambo. That's a car that I know you've jumped in a few times in GT3 racing.
Absolutely, Rob. It is exciting to see the Lamborghini back in contention. A few drivers have picked it up and managed to find some good pace after the recent updates. After so much of the McLaren fest lately and a couple of the last seasons, it's good to see some other mid-engine cars getting some love and having some drivers populate the field with them up in the front.
Yeah, David Bush III, one of our usual contenders at the top of the Pro-Am field, so no surprise to see him up there. Usually he qualifies a little farther back and then plays the fuel safe game to make his way up through, but timing is clicked over the 15-minute mark, which means qualifying has completed, but our drivers that crossed the start-finish line before the clock ticked over are able to finish up their laps. So we still have a few drivers on track. Looks like about 7 or 8 so drivers on the track. One of them is our current pole sitter, Chris Smrecker, trying to squeeze in one more lap right now, sitting comfortably only 2 100ths. I repeat, 2 100ths separating our top 2 Mercedes right now. Smrecker sitting up top, but Jared Williams also on track. So we'll see as Smrecker heading into turn 14 here now, he's able to improve on his time to open up that gap just a little more comfortably. I'm not sure where Jared Williams is on track, but we'll pop back to him in a minute once Smrecker crosses the line. See if he can improve on his time. Williams going to get across to 203.12. He's not going to improve. Smrecker 203.147. No improvement for him either. Jim Fleece crossed the line too well. That's going to finish up his time. Chinsky's off. Jay Steffi across the line right now. See if he's able to improve. He does not. He's going to hold on to his 14th place start right now. Looks like Jason Park, one of our last cars on track. It looks like he has already come through to finish up his laps. So it's just a matter of the clock finally ticking over and finishing up the qualifying here. So 45 minutes of racing. Oh, what kind of strat would you normally imply here in a 45-minute sprint race where you are going to need to take a fuel stop at some point in time? Would you be more apt to try the undercut, or are you more of the overcut?
That is a great question, Rob. I think it really comes down to the start. With a grid this packed and this close together on the relative, there's going to be a lot of tight battles out there. Myself personally, I like to not necessarily undercut, but maybe take a 1 lap or 2 in the pits early. You got to really know what's behind you too, because you could come out in some traffic and it could cost you just as much time as you were hoping to gain. So it's a tough live decision these racers make every race, and I expect tonight to be no different and be quite exciting as we watch the pit cycle.
Yeah, I've kind of preached... Oh, this is week 7, so I've kind of preached all the way through, been begging somebody to really try the undercut. We haven't really had a whole lot of takers, and I swear there's been some tracks where it would have been an advantage. So we'll see who's been listening to the broadcast and who's going to actually try that strat out here tonight. But timing scoring just clicked over, so we have the official grid here. Let's take a look at the top 12 drivers. Chris Smrecker going to take top spot, just ahead of J.R. Williams, Jim Flees, and Herbert Pineda making up row 2. David Bush III and Matt Stadnick in row 3 and 5th and 6th. Andrew Trickett in 7th, Dave Menino in 8th, Jack Hedgecoke's in 9th, Pete Mejia, our top AM driver, in 10th, Joshua Chinsky in 11th, and Nicholas Goen in 12th. Should take us through the next set of drivers there, Mo.
In P13, we have Guillermo Perret. Next to him in 14th, Jay Steffi. Behind them, 15th, Sean Provost, and next to him, Jason Park in 16th. 17th place, you'll have Colin McKenzie, and next to him, Kevin Berquist in 18th. 19th is Brett Puncari, and 20th is Josh Gown next to him. 21st is Jacob Fishner. 22nd is Joshua Spears, and the 23rd and 24th go to Brett Thurman and Dave Jensen.
That's going to take us into our next page of drivers here, where we're going to find Neil Alexander in 25th, Seb Gauthier in 26th, David Morse and Patrick Farrell going to make up the 27th and 28th place. 29th and 30th goes to Roy Brown and Robert Jeffries. Running at the top 30, James Hand in 31st, Zach Mosley in 32nd. We haven't seen him for a number of weeks. Welcome back, Zach. Chip Michaels, another driver that started off later in the season, took a couple weeks off, back again. He's going to start in 33rd. Ian Cabana in 34th. Alex Hillman in 35th. Christopher Ryan's going to round out the top 36. And then 37th goes to Drew DeWeese, Javi Sierra in 38th. Sean Mahone is our admin. We won't see him on track. Tyler Pastor in 39th. And Mark File going to start 40th and tail on the field. So 40 cars on grid here tonight, Mo. Some tracks that can play a little hectic, but Road America's got plenty of space to fit in that number of cars.
You got it. The first couple corners can definitely be exciting as these guys go too wide, and we're waiting on the lights here, and these two beautiful Mercedes should be able to take us off for the pace lap to get us started here.
Yeah, the SRTE drivers occupying front row. Opposing teams, though. J.R. Williams, if I remember correctly, we can pop over him. I believe he's on the, or no, they are both on yellow. I thought for some reason J.R. Williams is on purple. Jim Feliz is our SRTE purple driver. So SRTE lockout on the front row. Herbert Pineda, our top Pro-Am driver, sitting in 4th place. Nice qualifying for him. I should mention Herbert with a car change this week. So I believe that is, if I remember correctly, a 20-point deduction on him, hopping out of the McLaren and into the Mustang this time. So we'll see how it works out for him. Obviously, he's feeling it right now, qualifying up into the comfortably in the top 5.
Yes, all being said, the 20 points deduction is not too bad. A lot of leagues can be more strict, so it's nice that Throttle Freaks allow these guys some flexibility in their car choice, and hopefully that decision pays off for them this evening.
Yeah, no doubt. So here we go, under the control of Chris Smrecker, about to begin. Oh, I'm tripping over myself here already. 45 minutes action coming your way. Mr. Mercedes going to lead us off into turn 1. See what kind of clean start we get here early on, Mo. 40 cars heading into turn 1, cold tires, anything can happen. Looks like they're kind of trying to get single file the best they can early on, but Smrecker going to lead them in 3 wide, a little farther back. So far, looking good. Looks like most of our cars getting through. Not really seeing much chaos here. That's what we love to see early on, so well done to all of our drivers.
It looks like the lead pack wanted to get themselves sorted out in a line, not take any chances as the race gets off, and we'll see who can kind of stay in the slipstream and keep up with these front drivers here.
Yeah, no doubt. Looks like the top 3 trying to break away early as they've opened up about a half-second gap over 4th place Herbert Pineda. Pineda kind of leading the charge pack here now, but we've got Dave Menino making a move on the inside of Jack Hedgecoach a little farther back. That's for position. Hedgecoach, little elbows out there on the inside, come back on track. Menino going to have to fall back in behind him. Hedgecoach's going to hold on to that spot for right now. He's up 2 spots where he qualified, though. Dave Menino tried to take one of those away. Hedgecoach said, not too fast, young fella. I'm going to hold on to this spot for now, and he'll keep that position. Andrew Trickett, unfortunately for him, down a couple spots early on, but sitting comfortably in 9th place.
Yeah, with the generous weather conditions here and only around a 70-degree track, it's important to remember that these tires are going to take about a lap at least to start to feel right. And some of these guys you can see are picking up some dirt and picking up some grass here as they start to push the tires here halfway through the first lap.
And what have you noticed as far as getting the tires up to temp? Can you get them up to temp in time on a first lap, or is it about a lap and a half, 2 laps before they're really comfortable?
I do think right around the end of the first lap, they do start to take shape a little bit as far as the temperatures go. It really depends on the track temp as well. With the 70-degree track, they are going to, give you some alarm for the first lap. But I think within a couple laps, you're going to see these guys really starting to settle in. And Road America is a place where the corners can be quite inviting, so they're never going to stop pushing and finding the next limit as the tires kind of come up to temp and they have more grip. So I don't expect anything but tires in the dirt tonight as these guys try to push it and give it their all.
Yeah, no doubt. On board here with Chase Steffies, he's trying to move around Pete Mejia. That's for 12th position. Steffi going to get himself ahead into turn 1. Pete Mejia going to duck in behind and give up that position. Not the start Mejia wanted. Down 2 spots, but he's fighting back on the inside, showing that McLaren has the raw pace over the Acura. Steffi going to tuck in behind, but he's got Guillermo Perez Not too far back from those, Sean Provo right in there too as well with the Mustang. So mid-pack battle going strong here. Colin McKenzie in there too as well. Kevin Bergwist just in the back. So we got a couple packs shaping up here early, Mo. We've got our leaders, top three, now broken away 1.7 seconds over fourth place Herbert Pineda. Pineda doing well trying to chase that pack in, but he needs a little help from David Bush III, Matt Stadnick, and Jack Hedgecoe to get a little more formation in that group so they can work together and try and reel back in those top three cars.
Yes, it does look like David Bush III here in his Lamborghini is going to have his hands full with a couple of drivers behind him. So hopefully he can stay up next to Herbert Pineda and they can work together a little bit to stay with that lead pack. But when you're in your mirrors like this with the Porsches, you can see at the top of your screen there, it is going to be tough driving to kind of stay on pace and stay focused.
Yeah, the Lambo, last I drove it. Either way. Last time I was in the car, it's been a while, but I found that it was very understeer. It's kind of a plague that it's had over the seasons, but some drivers love that understeer. Some drivers like a more snappy car. Speaking of snappy, the Porsche in behind them, driven by our co-pro championship driver coming into this one, Matt Stadnick, where it's probably the farthest back we've seen Stadnick qualify all season. So no doubt he's eager to try and work his way up through ahead as his championship counterparts. J.R. Williams currently sitting in second place. Jack Hedgecoe's just one spot behind him. So see a ton of dirt and debris getting thrown up on track, but no doubt Stadnick will be trying to make his way up top as quick as he can, try not to lose any points to J.R. Williams. We got some battles up and down the field here. We got another one back a little farther. Brett Pancari, excuse me, Brett, our onboard driver for this week in the Hi, I'm Daisy Project 95 car, or 91, sorry. I got the two teams mixed up, but let's go on board here with Brett as he's embroiled in a battle here, trying to hold off Jacob Fichtner in behind. All the meanwhile trying to chase down Kevin Bergwist in that Ferrari up ahead.
Yeah, this is an exciting battle here as the Mustang hopes to find some slipstream behind. I believe that's a Ferrari ahead of him. These guys have been close back here, and like you said, many battles through the field. So I am also very curious about what kind of pit strategy these guys are going to be taking on. I know they're already thinking about it as they try to find their position here.
That was Jacob Fichtner with the late move up the inside of Brett Pancari. Going to make up a couple spots, but not without getting into the side of a couple of the cars. Let's see if we can take another replay of that from as we were on board with Brett Pancari. We couldn't get a full idea of what happened there, but let's see here if we can get an idea of what all broiled there. On board here with Jake Jensen. He's going to move around the outside too as well, as Pancari had to back out of that. He lost actually, it's like 3 positions out of that, Mo. So unfortunately, sometimes trying to be a little cautious is going to cost you a number of spots, but thankfully he was cautious, and all 3 of those drivers are going to be able to continue on.
Yeah, racing, especially at Road America in these GT3 cars, is a little bit of a give or take. So hopefully he can find a good spot in line and try to make up some of that time with a good, healthy pit cycle, and maybe save some fuel along the way as he, he seems to be making good, safe decisions, and it's always better to get the car across the line at the end of the race and to, maybe play too much with the risk assessment.
No doubt you have no chance of finishing first if at first you don't finish, right? So well done by all those drivers. Cooler heads prevailing, but looks like Chris Brecker starting to find a little bit of an extra gear in his Mercedes there, starting to open up a gap about 8/10 over second place J.R. Williams. Jim Flea's falling back a little bit off Williams too as well. So this trio that we saw break out early, starting to space themselves out. That might actually play well for Herbert Pineda in that secondary chase back. If they can get, looks like they got a little more organization there, about 7-8 cars deep. So it stretches all the way back to, I believe, Nicholas Gowen is the last driver in this pack, and that McLaren. So see if they can work together here, Mo, and try and chase back those leaders. They've been unsuccessful at this point, 7 minutes into the race, but we still got a long way to go.
Yeah, it looks like unfortunately David Bush III in his Lamborghini did give up a couple spots to Hedgecox and Stadnick as well. So we'll see if he has the pace long term over the course of 45 minutes. Maybe he was just waiting a little bit extra long for those tires to come up to temperature. So hopefully he can settle in and stay with Stadnick as he kind of goes for the front group push here.
Yeah, I mentioned it. I kind of briefly mentioned it earlier. David Bush III, a driver where tries to kind of settle into a consistent kind of pace to save a little bit of fuel. So I'm not surprised to see him let a car or two go by that he thinks might has a little more pace, might be pushing a little harder, tucking behind, use that fuel saving. We've seen him jump a number of drivers through pit strategy, and I suspect that's probably more or less what he's trying to do here again as well this week. But we pop back a little farther in the field. We got Joshua Spears in the SimCity Corvette. He's got Guillermo Perez just ahead of him. Spears up 4 spots where he qualified right now. He's looking to take one more spot away from Perez. So interesting battle here, the Corvette versus the Porsche. Looks like Spears going to tuck it up on the inside. Perez trying to fight back through Canada corner into Bill Mitchell Bend. He's got the inside line. Spears going to have to try and take the long way around. Drops a tire or two off into the grass. Kevin Berquist looking to pounce. Unable to make that move though, but Perez going to back out of that one, give up the position to Spears. Now we'll see if Spears can lead them up to Colin McKenzie, who's broken away from that pack. Last we saw him, he was in behind Perez and Berquist. He's managed to get around them. Now he's trying to chase down that battle up ahead of Provo, Goen, and Pete Mejia. Up ahead as it looks like Provo making a move around Josh Goen. That's going to move him up a spot. As I say that, going off track, kicking up a bunch of debris. McKenzie going to get around him now, so that's going to bridge that gap between those two packs.
Yeah, the new updates with iRacing in the sand definitely has those cars slowing down as soon as you touch the sand. So it can absolutely save your bacon from going into the wall on some bigger incidents. But if anytime you touch it now, it can really cost you some time, and you may lose a spot or two. So hopefully you can keep the car out of the dirt from here on out.
Yeah, the old sand and the old grass definitely aren't missed by any iRacing driver. I'm pretty safe to say that nobody misses the old ice grass and ice gravel, where they virtually did nothing to slow the car down. It's probably the best change that they've made over the last year or two was improving that. But we got change of position a little farther back as Robert Jeffrey's going to lose the back end of that B&O Kartomania car. See, he just kind of kissed the wall a little bit. Shouldn't have a whole lot of damage. Going to get back on track. That's going to cost him a ton of positions, drop him all the way down into 36th place. So we'll take a look here quickly at what happened to Robert Jeffries to get him into that position.
Looks like he's coming up the hill here, gets in his brakes, maybe gives a little bit too much input, holds the brake too long, but either way the car decided it wasn't going to stick for him, and only a light tap on the wall, so he should be good to make it to the pit stop.
Yeah, excellent stuff there. Looks like as you predicted, came in a little too hot. That pendulum effect kicked in on that Porsche, and around he went. Porsche is usually my GT3 of choice. Takes a little bit of a different driving style. Can be a little tricky on certain tracks, but I don't know what it is. It just kind of fits my driving style. The old point and shoot, throw it into a corner, hammer the brakes, get it aimed to the right direction, and then hammer back on the throttle. It could be just the whole Thunderfoot style of gas pedal use that I appreciate, and it works out well for me. But Porsche is usually my car of choice. But up front, looks like J.R. Williams starting to close that gap back in on Chris Sprecher. They've actually dropped Jim Feliz well off this pack. Feliz getting caught up by Herbert Pineda. Pineda's kind of pulled away from Hedgecoats too as well. So see if Pineda can kind of reel in Feliz. Feliz might actually be dropping back here to catch up with that pack. See if they can work together to reel in the leaders. What do you think of that strategy, Mo? If you're falling back off that top two, kind of fall back into that chase pack, see if the 8 cars can work together and try and chase back the 2 cars up ahead. You think that's a valid strategy, or playing with fire?
With competition like we find here in Throttle Freaks, I think it may be a little bit of playing with fire. I would try everything to keep my car away from these guys. Try to stay off the slipstream. Don't give them anything free. These guys are all competitive. They're not going to let you keep a spot for free either once they catch you. So no reason to unnecessarily throw yourself into the heat of battle when you have some clean air and can just enjoy the track.
You're probably right. I'm always looking for trying alternate strategies, though I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just usually because I end up finding myself making a mistake and ending up farther back in the pack than what I wanted to be, and trying to find a way to be back up there. But on board here with Matt Stadnick is unfortunately Jack Hedgecoats. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately for Stadnick, not unfortunately for our viewers who like to see some action. Hedgecoats has gotten around Stadnick, so that's going to put him ahead. Now Stadnick came into this race tied for top in the Pro Championship. Both of his competitors in that championship now ahead of him, so no doubt he's going to be trying to find a way to get back around there. Those are precious points. We should actually point out that points are doled out on your overall finish. It doesn't matter where you finish in class. If you're a AM driver and you finish 5th overall, you get 5th place points. You don't necessarily get first place points for and, you get 5th place points overall. And likewise, if you're a pro driver, you have a bad race, you finish 35th or something, you're getting 35th points regardless of if there was only 8 pro drivers in the field. So every point, every position, every point matters here. Doesn't necessarily matter what class you're in. And each one of our classes are dedicated by the colors on the side. The pro drivers are our blue colored cars, the pro-am are the red, and then our am drivers are the green colored cars. We'll sort them quickly here by class, so you can have an idea of where your favorite driver is currently situated in their class as well as overall. So you see a lot of intermingling amongst the pro-am and pro drivers. Usually we see most of our pro drivers up towards the front. We're seeing most of them again this evening. So the cream usually rises to the cream usually rises to the top, Mo, and we're seeing that again here this evening.
Yeah, that is exciting to know about the points, especially with Herbert Pineda too. So he's trying to put himself in a good spot, knowing he's taking that 20-point hit for changing into the Mustang. That's honestly a good way to run the league. That's very exciting to see, and that's why we have such a close championship, both in all 3 of the divisions and the team bracket, really.
Yeah, it helps keep it helps keep everything competitive, right? So it makes the whole. We had seasons past where it was points were doled out for which class you're in, right? So you get a lot of guys who, if they got caught by a driver in another class, they wouldn't necessarily battle with them, just let them by because they're not losing any points, right? So now it gives that little extra incentive to not just let a car by, to actually keep battling with him, to force him to try and find a way around you because you don't want to lose those points. So a little bit of extra incentive, and I kind of like it better.
I don't disagree. With that being said, David Bush III, we talked about him trying to keep up with Stadnick earlier, but when it comes to the classes, he is in 2nd place and has a decent lead over here over Joshua Chinksey in 9th. So David Bush and Herbert Pineda both holding down the Pro-Am category pretty well right now.
Yeah, they're doing well. Joshua Chinksey currently our 3rd place driver in Pro-Am. We've seen him 2 of the last 3 races win his class and actually contend for top positions on the overall podium. So 3 of those Pro-Am drivers comfortably in the top 10. Andrew Trick, another driver who's really turned it on the last couple weeks here. It's been impressive to see. He's kind of pulled from mid-pack driver to front of the pack driver the last few weeks. He's got that B&O Carnamania McLaren working well as he's trying to chase down the aforementioned Chinksey into turn 5.
Yeah, turn 5 is very exciting with the big brakes on at the bottom of the hill here, and then again, we saw a car spin right here as we come up the hill into this brake zone as well earlier. So very exciting track. Like I said, a lot of inviting corners where the drivers see opportunity all the time, and it's important to to stay focused, stay reserved, and make sure that all 4 tires stay on the track here.
Yeah, you have 3 great, I'm going to call them great, overtaking opportunities in this track. You get into turn 1, get into turn 5 where we just saw these cars head through, and then up in the Canada corner, you can probably argue, maybe turn 3. If you get a nice run out of turn 1, you can make the move there. You can make a move into turn 3, but it's nice because a lot of the other tracks that we go to, they really don't have a whole lot of overtaking opportunities, Mo, where Road America just seems to have a whole lot. And a track that another track similar to this that I find has a lot of overtaking opportunities, the track we're heading to next week at Silverstone, where I think it has a lot of great overtaking opportunities too as well. Probably not as much as Road America, but it should be a good one. Where last week at the Bend, I know it's a new track, a lot of drivers still learning it, but I didn't really feel like there's a lot of overtaking opportunities. It was very flowy, but there wasn't really a whole lot of heavy braking where you can kind of dive up underneath that car ahead of you.
I do agree with you as well, and some of these passing opportunities you're talking about, like especially into turn 1 here, they are still some mid-speed corners. So once the lines settle in and the driver decides who's taking which line, they both get a good exit there, and there's not as much opportunity down in between 2 and 3 to make a pass. So turn 1 is extremely important here as these guys find the slipstream all the way from a good exit in the last corner.
Yeah, no doubt. As we head back to this battle for 13th place, we see Mackenzie and Mejia have caught up to the back of Sean Provo. Provo in the black and green SRTE car up ahead. Mackenzie in the Madworks Lunatics machine in behind him. Pete Mejia in the, I can't remember off the top of my head what Pete's team name is here now. PLR Sim Sport. We actually joke First couple weeks, we were calling Pete Mejia Pete Mejia. We come to find out that it's actually a name that his coworkers used to poke fun at him, so they were getting a pretty good laugh out of the broadcast when he was showing it to them that we were calling him Pete Mejia too as well. So occasionally we'll throw that in just for his coworkers, but Pete Mejia looking strong here this evening. Although down 5 spots from where he qualified, still looking very competitive, sitting in top 15 right now.
I must say, Rob, these cars look absolutely fantastic here in this league. All these guys taking it very seriously, and these cars are really looking as good as these guys are driving tonight. So not only the SRT guys, but everyone behind them as well. These guys look great on the track just as much as they are driving quickly.
Yeah, they put a lot of work into the paint schemes, definitely, no doubt. So it's quite nice to see a lot of sharp, bright cars on track. But looks like Mackenzie going to have to wait for another opportunity to try and make the move around Provo. But up ahead, Dave Menino in a battle right now as he's got Chinsky, Trickett, Nicholas Goen, that is, on his tailpipe. Menino currently holding down 8th place. The lead McLaren in this pretty much all McLaren pack, except for that one Corvette of Chinsky. So we'll see here how Chinsky's going to fare with that Corvette down the front straight. Usually the Corvette down a little bit on power in a straight line more often than not to the McLaren. So it's like the McLaren of Trickett trying to find a way around the outside. Chinsky going to have the preferred line on the inside, but if Trickett can hold that pace up around the outside, he might be able to make that move stick, but Chinsky going to make him work for it. Nicholas Goen trying to get in there too. Oh, Goen's going to turn Trickett. Trickett going to keep it on track and lose the 1 spot, but we'll take a quick look here and see what happened if that was just incidental contact, or potentially maybe a late braking maneuver here. But it's like for the most part, not a whole lot lost in just a little bit of time there.
A great save from Trickett, in my opinion. That was well done to keep his car and get it straightened out and keep it going.
A quick look at the replay here. It looks like Goen had a little bit of overlap on the front end. I'm not sure if maybe Trickett just wasn't quite sure he was all the way up in there, but thankfully it doesn't look like much damage suffered on that one.
Yeah, it looks like Owen was just trying to take advantage of the situation, the 2 cars battling ahead of him. Can't blame him, there was a gap there, but like you said, Trickett may have not known that he was on the inside and turned in a little bit too much, and unfortunate contact with both drivers safe and back on track.
Yeah, sometimes your spotter is a hair too slow on the call and things like that happen, but Herbert Pineda looks like he's starting to get chased in by Jack Hedgecox as Jim Feliz. It looked like he was in danger of being caught by Pineda. He's going to open up 3.4 seconds over Pineda falling back into the clutches here of Hedgecox, and Statnik not too far back. Looks like they're starting to pull away from Busch the third. And then as you see, Dave Menino was in that battle, leading that battle between Chinsky, Goen, and Trickett, but Goen and Trickett, after that little bit of contact, they've fallen out of that battle. So spot back a little farther back in the field here as we got a 3-car battle with Chip Michaels, Seb Gauthier, the car we're on board here with now, the SRTE orange car, orange, black, and white machine. Chip Michaels just ahead of him, David Morse in behind. David Morse, one of our more improving drivers. He's each season improves a little more, finds a little more pace. He's been working with the SRTE guys anytime we've talked to him, really trying to find the pace, and a nice run for him right now. Down 1 spot from where he qualified, but hanging on to the back of Seb Gauthier. Look like those 2 drivers going to pop in. They're going to be early takers here, both for the pit cycle. So early on, 21 minutes into this, I know on weeks past we've seen our drivers be able to go about 32 minutes into the race before they get to the end of the fuel load. So a little bit of an undercut here by these 2 drivers.
Yeah, definitely a little bit early for the pit cycle. They are within the window, but we'll see where they come out on track. They may be looking for some clean air, but they may be missing that slipstream in line just as much as they think clean air will benefit them. So I'm eager to see what kind of times they can put down and if they're going to, do well in their pit strategy as we progress through the next about 12 minutes, like you said.
Yeah, now they're both SRTE team drivers on sister teams, so I'm wondering if they potentially were in voice chat and notified each other that they're going to go into the pits, so they could get a little bit of that draft as they come back out, Mo. So we'll have to keep an eye on how that prevails once they come back through. But a little further back in the pack, we got Javi Sierra and Jason Park battling it out for 27th place. Park down 11 spots from where he qualified. I'm not sure what happened to him, but on a recovery run, a little ways back in the pack. This might be this would be probably a great opportunity for the undercut that I mentioned early on, where some drivers popping in early trying to take advantage of a little bit of clean air, clean track. But looks like they have clean air, clean track for the most part right now, but might be advantageous to pop in, use that pit stop, cool the tires down, get a little splash of fuel, get back out to the end. You never know what might happen with the cars up ahead that are embroiled in a battle while you're in getting your service. Something could happen to them, and then you pop back out, take that position away.
I do tend to agree. Even if the tires don't cool down at all during the pit cycle, which I believe they do, but even if they don't, it's good to cool your head off a little bit. Maybe if you had a tough start to the race and take an early pit cycle and kind of consider, coming back out of the pits as a clean start and pushing forward from there.
Yeah, we see Herbert Pineda pop in. He's a driver that we mentioned was starting to get reeled in by Hedgekokes and Stadnik, so I wonder if he's trying to relieve a little pressure there, popping in early. But our two Mercedes out front, as they've been from the start here, looks like they've kind of been working together here now, Mo. They've got caught back up into draft. They've opened up a nice almost 5-second gap over third place Jim Flees. We see him off in the distance there. So nothing but clear sailing for these two drivers here. I suspect they will definitely be pushing the fuel to the end of the tank here as far as they can. They have no real need to pop in early unless they all of a sudden start to catch up in some heavy lap traffic.
Absolutely. The more time they put between them and the drivers behind, the more data they have when they go into their pit cycle about what kind of strategy they want to take, how much fuel. So I think it's only going to benefit them to stay out here in clean air and keep pushing, especially the driver in P2, JR Williams here, who has been maintaining some slipstream throughout the race. So hopefully his fuel in the pit stop will be a little bit shorter than Smirker, and we'll have quite the battle moving forward.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that strategy plays out. Is JR Williams one of our championship contenders, where Smrekker's missed a few weeks, so he's not necessarily in the championship battle? I wonder if they've had this discussion, Mo, where Smrekker said, I'll go out front, you stay in behind, save that fuel, and then we'll see if maybe you leapfrog me at the end and get those extra bonus points. So we'll see how it works out. Maybe Smrekker is just going to stick and say, I'm been out front all the time, I've led the whole race, I'm going to take the win. But we still got a ways to go before we find that out, as we've still got about 20 minutes left in this one. As we see Sean Provo, Colin McKenzie going at it again. McKenzie looking to the inside into Canada corner. Provo trying to fight back on the outside, going to have to compromise his exit a little bit. McKenzie on the inside, and that Acura going to take that spot away. Took him a couple laps to do it, but he finally worked over Sean Provo, got himself up into 11th place. One step out of the top 10 now, up 6 positions. We should actually take and mention our biggest mover of the day right now is this man right here, Javi Sierra, up 14 spots from where he qualified, got himself into 24th place. So still a ways to go up towards the front of the pack. Obviously some of that has to do with some fuel cycle drivers popping in early, as we got McKenzie, Provo, Spears, Fichtner all popping into the pits here. Looks like most of our mid-pack, Mo, coming in this time by to get some fuel.
Looks like our leader Schmerker did take his pit as well, and JR Williams stayed out for an extra lap. So it's going to be exciting as JR decides to come in the next couple laps, and we get those results as well for who's going to be leading the second half of the race.
Yeah, it looks like Smrekker in and out quickly. Let's take a look and see what his pit stop time was. 16.7 seconds in the box. Just going to quickly compare it to some of our other drivers who have come in already. Andrew Trickett, 16.8. Pineda, 18.7. Long stop for him. Brett Thurman, 17.1. Seb Goche, our shortest stop right now, 14.3. I wonder if he's got enough fuel on board to make it to the end. That sounds a little light compared to what I'm seeing on a lot of the other stops. Most of them in around the 16-second time, Mo, maybe a touch into the 17s, but 14.3. Definitely a much shorter stop than the rest of the field.
Yes, Rob, I found with the races where you are racing a clock like this with 45 minutes on the clock and, do as many laps that make sense in 45 minutes, the difference between doing an extra lap and, having made a mistake on your fuel margin is really just a change in how fast those leaders are driving. So anything can happen, and it's always a risk when you start to cut your fuel margin for that shorter pit time. So I'm sure some of these guys will be able to capitalize and make good plans. In other words, may have to find themselves on their back foot later on trying to get that fuel back.
Yeah, we saw a couple drivers last season when we came here in the Throttle Freaks GT3 season where they didn't quite take enough fuel and they ran out heading up the hill to the start-finish line. They couldn't actually make it. I believe Colin McKenzie was one of the drivers, I remember correctly off the top of my head. He couldn't even get a push. Everybody else had already finished. So that's the chance you take here at Road America. One of those tracks where you're have to head up a hill to get to the start-finish line. If you're really pushing the limit on fuel, kind of grasping at straws, sipping through a straw out of the final corner, you really leave that chance and you're not going to make it through. As it looks like the rest of our field coming in here to pit at the 27-minute mark. Oh, it looks like Chinsky missed his pit stall by a mile there, had to back up. He's going to lose a ton of spots, Mo. That's a costly mistake.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you put in good laps on track, you still have to stay focused in the pit stall. I think it's happened to all of us, Rob. So unfortunate for him, but I'm sure he'll get back out there and push the pace and try to get a couple of those spots back.
For sure, but look who is out front now. J.R. Williams, the driver who has kind of just sat there in second place since the start, Mo. We were just talking about how he might have been able to save some fuel in behind teammate Chris Smrecker. He's actually got himself a 3.5-second gap now over Smrecker after the pit cycles. But I'm having a look at Williams' time in the pit box, 14.8. And we mentioned about Gauthier, a little light on fuel. Now we know Williams was in the draft for, I can say, about 95% of the time in behind Chris Smrecker, so definitely saved some fuel, but hopefully he's accounted for that in his fuel load once he stopped in the pit cycle. So we'll see. Championship contender could potentially be coming down to the line as far as fuel and have to deal with that uphill charge that we mentioned on the last lap. Could be costly here as the race carries on.
Yeah, great decision making so far from J.R. Williams. Made a plan from the early beginnings of the race, followed his teammate through, and capitalized on a good pit cycle with a healthy margin here of 3.5 seconds to the next driver. So I expect him to keep pushing, and we'll see what kind of pace Smrecker has as he tries to, close that gap and see if he can, pay back his teammate a little bit for that kind of gap in the pit cycle for towing him for the first half of the race.
Yeah, another driver who had a nice pit stop too as well was Sean Provo, who we're on board here with right now. We saw McKenzie had gotten around him just a lap before they came in for pit service, but through that service, well, Provo's got himself back around, so now McKenzie going to have to try and find another way back around him. So interesting to see if he can do it. He's got some company behind us: Josh Goen, Pete Mejia, Josh Spears, Guillermo Pere, and I believe Jacob Fichtner not too far back of that pack either. So a number of cars ready to pounce if something were to happen between McKenzie and Provo up ahead.
Yeah, McKenzie been very exciting to watch this evening. Lots of good passes out of him. He continues to push Provo and try to, force the mistake. And Mustang doesn't want to give it up easy, and you can't knock him for that, as you said, with the points being all, you finish where you get your points here. No. Oh, big mistake from McKenzie.
Oh, looks like he's going to get a little bit of help from Josh Cohen, though, to get straightened back out. But big loss out of the final corner. We'll take a look and see how that unfolded. It's going to cost him a number of spots. It's like Patrick Farrell going to get by too as well. Kevin Berquist, definitely that accurate, feeling a ton of hurt. Brent Pancari going to get by too as well. So costly mistake there by McKenzie, trying to push around the outside of Provo. Fortunately, everything came to blows and off he went. So let's take a quick look here at what happened there. See how everything unpacked and unfolded here as McKenzie was making a move around the outside. This is heading into Canada Corner. We'll follow them all the way through here into turn 14 and see what happened. It's a little bit of bumping and banging there. Nothing really much going on. Into Bill Mitchell Bend and then into the turn 14. It was the exit of 14 where McKenzie got sideways. I'm not sure if he dropped a tire off track here or just lost the back end. Oh, looks like he dipped the right side into the grass and just kind of lost the back end, came around. It was a passenger at that point in time. I'm going to say thankfully for him, Josh Goen was there to straighten him back out. Otherwise, he might have went off a little bit further. Actually, might even have slid over in front of another driver coming down the track.
Yeah, unfortunately for Josh Goen, he did have to, check up to handle the incident and may have lost a couple spots here, and now continues to be under pressure here as well from the Ferrari here that's in front of Pancari, who's in the Mustang that we're on board with. So hopefully Goen can settle back down and, find some gap between him and the driver behind him.
Yeah, on board with Brent Pancari. Nice race shaping up for him, although down one spot, but final step in the top 20 right now. He's got a number of drivers up ahead. You can see all the way up to about P15, even a little farther up ahead. So definitely a higher place finish still in the cards, potentially for Brent Pancari. You never know what could happen amongst those cars battling up ahead, as we just saw what happened to McKenzie. And it only took a one little mistake to cost you a number of positions when you're battling that close on track with that many drivers, Mo.
It looks like we have a good battle up front with Jack Hedgecoe and Matt Stednick as well. They did put some gap in between them and David Busch III in his Lamborghini in the pit cycle, but these two continue to, to push for the lead pack and put on a good race for us up here as well. Looks like Hedgecoe is up a good number of positions here with 5 spots gained, so very exciting race for him and his BMW, and it's shaping up well.
Yeah, that BMW I mentioned early on, definitely very competitive this season. Hedgecock's a pretty good driver too as well. He I raced against him in an LMP league, LMP2 league a number of seasons back. He's very quick there, very quick again here in GT3. So I'm going to take and say there's probably not a whole lot he can't drive quickly, as he's shown here tonight with some strong pace at Road America. But trying to hold off his championship compatriot here, Matt Stanek. Stanek staying tight with him. He's actually closed the gap from last time we checked in on them after the fuel cycles. Stanek put some pressure on the back of Hedgecock's as we're still got a little over 10 minutes to go, about just under the 12-minute mark, but that's only going to translate to maybe about 5 more laps here, Mo. So really starting to get into the end of the race here, where drivers are really going to have to try and start to make their move up through the field if they want to gain some positions.
Absolutely. Looks like we have battles all over the grid. It is hard to keep up, Rob, but I know, 10 minutes can feel like eternity in these GT3 cars when you have someone fill in the rearview mirror. So I do expect some more eventful things to happen here in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, especially at a track like Road America, where it doesn't have a whole lot of runoff. Drop a couple tires into the grass. We saw what happened to Mackenzie, but so many high-speed corners around the track here, especially going through the kink and the carousel, where we just saw this pack of drivers headed off by Josh Spears. Drop a tire into the grass there or into Canada corner here, and your race could be over very quickly. Those outside walls come up real quick. They may look like they're far enough away, but you come in there at 140, 150 mile an hour. They hurt once they hit, and they cause a ton of damage.
Looks like the McLaren decided to, take a look inside, but thought better and, backed out in the last second there. So good decision making still. Maintain the slipstream, and hopefully he can find another good passing opportunity here in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, we'll see it kind of draft. Pete Mejia gets off the back of Josh Spears here down the front straight. Looks like the Corvette's actually faring pretty well here this evening. I mentioned earlier on, it's usually a car that kind of suffers at the high-speed tracks. It's kind of not necessarily what you think of as a Corvette in the traditional sense. Usually they were more of a straight line machine, didn't really like to turn. Now this C8 is a little slower in a straight line, but very quick in the twisty stuff. So Josh Spears doing well to stay ahead of the McLaren of Perret. Oh, sorry, McLaren of Mejia with Perret and Fichtner in behind.
I can say the Corvette is one car that I've never really taken a fancy with, but there are a lot of fast drivers there, so it's very evident it's a competitive car, and maybe just a little bit outside my pay grade.
Yeah, I drove the Corvette a lot when it first came out. I really liked it, and then I found that season or two after, I don't know, they changed a couple things on it, and it got really twitchy and really, I don't know, I found it really hard to drive after that, and I haven't really drove it much since. I kind of just fell back to the old Porsche thing, but there's some drivers that really love it. Richard Swindells, who's normally in here with me, is a Corvette fanboy. He cheers them on every chance he get. He drive it every chance he get, but it's just not a car that works that well for me. Much to the similar likings that you just pointed out, Mo. It's really tough to drive. It's one of those cars that takes a certain driving style. I find it very snappy on the back end, very easy to lose the back end. But as you see here, Matt Stanek still holding tight in behind Jack Hedgecock's, trying to find a way around, possibly trying to force a mistake from Hedgecock's. Do the best he can to fill his mirrors, get Hedgecock's mirror driving up ahead, and then try and force a mistake, move up to the inside, take that position away. But right now, Jack Hedgecock's not falling for any of Stanek's plays.
Yeah, even with the nice weather, Rob, it is easy to, heat up the tires on the GT3 as the race progresses past 35 minutes here. So I'm eager to see if the Porsche here is just trying to push the BMW just a little bit too far to, force a mistake anytime. It doesn't look like he's real eager. Doesn't look like he's trying to push the envelope too much. Just making sure that the BMW knows that he's there and kind of forcing him to maintain a quick pace and hoping the BMW makes a mistake later on.
Now, in your testing of the cars with the new tire model this season, have you found that there's any of the GT3s that are a little easier on the new tires than others in a longer run? Or are they all fairly comparable?
I do think the front engine cars are holding up pretty well right now, Rob. Personally, I'm a big fan of the BMW lately, and I don't notice too much change over the course of a 45 minute race. It holds up pretty well. I know that the Porsche is another car that's been holding up decently well and finding a lot of pace on the new tire model, but Matt Stadnik with the spin out there at the bottom of turn 5.
Yeah, Stadnik was really pushing it into turn 5 there. Unfortunately, lost the back end. He's going to lose a number of spots down to 8th place right now. Jay Steffi coming up behind, but I think he's going to be able to hold off Steffi. But That's going to cost him, let's see, he is in 8th place now. He was in 4th, so that's going to cost him 4 spots. Could have been a lot worse, but unfortunately going to make the best out of the bad situation for Stanek. The worst part of that right now for him is the clock. With only a little over 7 minutes to go, he's not going to have a whole lot of time to try and gain back any of those positions, as now he's going to fend off Chase Steffi looking at the inside into Canada corner. Looks like Steffi going to make that position stick too as well.
Looks like Matt Stadnik fighting back on the inside here, trying to get a good exit onto the back straight. I do expect the Acura to stay in the slipstream here and find some good pace against the Porsche. I'm excited for turn 1 with these two battling here.
Yeah, it looks like they got a nice competitive battle underway here. The Acura, it's another car I find really takes a certain driving style. It's very much like the Lamborghini, or very understeery on cold tires. Definitely kind of comes a little more alive once the tires warm up. I find it still overall a very understeery car, very difficult to drive. So hats off to any of our Acura drivers that are finding some pace out there tonight. One of those drivers, Jim Felice, has just kind of been on an island here for most of the race in 3rd place. Got out front early on with our 2 leaders. They kind of fell back, but he's been able to maintain a nice gap between he and who's ever been in 4th place at the time. Right now it's Jack Hedgecoats. Earlier it was Herbert Pineda. Pineda falling way back down the field here too as well. I'm actually taking a look, see Pineda all the way back into 35th. He's actually back into the pits. Not taking to investigate what happened to him, but potentially a good race gone sour for Herbert Pineda.
Keeping these cars together, Rob, when they give way on you and you have an incident, a spin, keeping them together and keeping them off the wall is just as much a skill as driving them faster on the track. So these guys clearly know what they're doing here, even in the incidents, and we haven't had too many major mishaps with the pace that these guys are going around some of these corners at Road America. The worst case scenario is they find a wall at that speed, and it gets a lot uglier than it's been tonight. So these guys have been handling it extremely well.
No doubt. I think I found what happened to Herbert Pineda, so let's take a quick look and see what potentially ended his race there. So he's coming out of the pits. Car looks like it's dog tracking a little bit. So he must have had some damage beforehand. He went into the pits to try and clear up, so to see if there's something a little farther back. But while I look through that, let's take a look here and see again what happened to Matt Stadnik exactly, as he was putting some pressure on the back of Jack Hedgecoats as they headed into turn 5. Or sorry, that's turn 8 actually. It loses the back end just before they head into the carousel. A little bit of a Porsche pendulum effect there, unfortunately for Stadnik, but again, no walls, no other cars coming in against him, just lost time at that point in time.
Turn 5 and 6 have definitely been a little tough for the Porsches this evening, as we've seen a couple incidents, but altogether a good safe race so far, and just like qualifying was so close, we have battles all over the track, top to bottom right now.
Yeah, this one here, Patrick Farrell, he's currently in 17th place. He's got Kevin Berquist in the Ferrari up ahead. He's got a McLaren of Jacob Fichtner in behind. Fichtner, the driver we saw see a massive send into turn 5 early on in the race. He's currently holding into 18th place, trying to find a spot around Patrick Farrell. So nice battle there right now. Patrick Farrell has been up 11 spots in the race. He's going to drop a tire off into the grass, though. It's squirrely. Jacob Fichtner isn't going to need to be asked twice to try and take that position away. He's going to take that away, drop Farrell back into 18th place and say thank you for 17th. Now I'm going to try and chase down Kevin Berquist up ahead.
Looks like the Mustang of Punkari is also trying to capitalize here on the outside of turn 5, so it should be an exciting break zone.
Yeah, we see again how quickly one little mistake here amongst a pack of cars that are all relatively the same pace as you could really cost you a number of positions. Looks like Pancari got a slowdown there somewhere, bailed out to the left to serve that, so I'm not really sure where he would have got that slowdown for. Looked like he was within the limits through turn 3 all the way down the straight into turn 5, so interesting there, but bailed out of that one. It's going to allow Trickett and Thurman to make their way through.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of traffic, and he may have, gotten off his line a little bit, gotten a little uncomfortable, and decided to just fall back in line instead of, maybe causing an incident in an uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, it's a good point. Always a wise move, trying to back out, maybe give up a position or 2 rather than take out yourself and another couple cars in trying to maintain that position. But Kevin Berquist has his work cut out for him right now, leading this pack in 16th place. Jacob Fichtner looking really racy in behind, trying to find a way around Berquist as they head in and out of Canada Corner into Bill Mitchell Bend. If they head onto the front straight, status quo here, Mo, what do you think the chances are that McLaren staying tucked in behind and not making a move into turn one?
Well, I think, car to car, they're pretty even, but the driver behind, like you said, he's looking a little racy, and I think he's looking for every opportunity right now. Only a few minutes, winding down on the clock here, maybe a couple laps left, so I think he's looking to capitalize on any opportunity he can here, and he's getting some good slipstream. We'll see if he moves inside.
Okay, into turn one they go. Looks like Fichtner going to stay in behind. So he's content to hold on to make that move a little later. Bro, he's not even going to have to wait too long. Berkowitz going to go wide. It's going to allow Fichtner to move by. Let's see if now Farrell can make that move on the inside. He is too as well. So again, another driver with one minor mistake. Going to lose a couple spots. And now Brett Thurman smelling blood in the water. That blue Porsche, the bad Santa machine tucked in behind Berkowitz. We'll see now if Thurman could potentially make a move into turn 5. So it's we've seen how costly a number of times here, Mo, tonight. One little mistake could cost you a number of spots, and unfortunately for Kevin Berkowitz, he was the latest driver to have that happen.
Fichtner with a great move, honestly, to fill his mirror into turn one. It's a tough break zone. You have to really nail it. And, looks like he put the driver ahead of him under some pressure, and mistake was made, and he got some clean air in front of him now. So hopefully he can, stay clear of Farrell for the last couple laps here and make the most of that good move late in the race.
Yeah, it's amazing what can happen if you get that driver ahead of you, just off their game a little bit. They may think they're just glancing in the mirrors quickly to see what's going on, and all it takes is that quick little second to miss your brake marker, and next thing you know, you're heading into the corner a whole lot quicker than you were expecting. Off track you go, and positions are lost. But Thurman looking racy. We see Fichtner going out wide through the carousel, heading into the kink. Berkowitz going to take that spot away. Thurman looking up the inside. That could have got dicey if they were going to go too wide through the kink. Cooler heads prevailed though, but now the run into Canada corner. We'll see if Thurman dives to the inside. He's not quite close enough to do it, but Pancari making the move inside, Trickett in behind.
Very exciting battle here as Pancari comes back. This is a great battle in the mid-pack.
Yeah, this may be battling for, what do we got, 17th all the way to 21st. But when you're in a 40-car field, it may feel like mid-pack, but you're battling for your life back there. Oh, we see Trickett getting loose over the final corner. Into the wall he goes. A couple cars come back in. Looks like they're going to be able to avoid him. That was a heavy hit for Andrew Trickett. And it's similar to what we saw Colin McKenzie have through that final corner, but Trickett unable to keep it off the wall, unlike we saw happen to McKenzie. So unfortunate for him, he was embroiled in that battle we were watching, but that's going to be a race ending for Andrew Trickett.
Yeah, you can tell these guys are picking up a little more gravel than they were earlier. These, may have been pushing their tires or just trying to find that extra 10th here and there, but definitely exciting racing here in the last couple laps.
Yeah, we're on the final lap here now. J.R. Williams, pretty uneventful race for him. We haven't talked, well, we've focused on it a little bit. We haven't talked about him a whole lot. He's just been out front with teammate Chris Smrecker. They've been leading the way here from start to finish into Canada corner here for the last time. J.R. Williams looking to take a nice strong hold on the Pro Championship and the overall championship with only 2 more rounds to go after this one. This is the way you want to do it, Mo. If you're coming in leading the championship, get out front, take the win, put the pressure on the cars behind you heading into the final 2 rounds.
Absolutely a great result for the 2 SRT Mercedes today. Really setting the bar high and, kind of letting people know what to expect. Hopefully some similar pace at Silverstone. I expect the Mercedes to hold up fairly well next week as well.
Yeah, there we go. Barney breaking out the checkered flag across the line. Goes Williams. Smrecker not too far back in tow. Jim Flea's going to round out the podium. Jack Hedgecoke's going to bring it home 4th. Probably had aspirations for finishing a little higher, but 4th place, nothing to sniff at. Dave Menino going to come home in 5th. David Bush III going to be our top Pro-Am driver. Going to come home just ahead of Nicholas Cohen. Matt Stadnick, promising race, a little bit of an incident there, lost the back end, going to bring it home in 8th place. Not all said and done, not too bad of a finish after having that spin early on, but this battle here, Berkowitz leading Fichtner to the line. It's like Fichtner going to have to settle for 18th place. Berkowitz holding on to 17th. He's going to hold it across the line. Thurman going to finish up ahead of Pancari. We have a few more drivers a little farther back in the pack. Robert Jeffries just ahead of Colin McKenzie. A couple drivers we've seen have some issues early on. Jeffries got into the wall just outside of turn 5. McKenzie in the final corner here heading into now. We saw what happened to him, lose the back end, get spun around. Jeffries again going to go off track right in front of McKenzie. almost a repeat of what we saw Mackenzie do about 10 minutes ago. He's going to take that spot away from Jeffries as they cross the line. Seb Gauthier, our third place car, across the line. David Morse into the final corner for him. And it looks like David Morse is potentially our final car on the lead lap. So this should make our results official once he crosses the line.
Very exciting race, top to bottom, Rob. Really just thanks for having me. Throttle Freaks is clearly some of the more competitive league racing when it comes to GT3. So packed grid tonight, very exciting race at Road America, and eager to see where these championship points play out from here on moving forward into Silverstone.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We've had a lot of shakeup in the drivers who were sitting at the top of the points coming into this one in the AM and Pro Am class. So it'll be interesting to see once all the points and penalties are doled out later this week how that sorts out. But congrats to our winners in each class. And now we've got our final results shaped up. Let's take a quick look here at how things went down. J.R. Williams takes top spot ahead of teammate Chris Sprecher. Jim Flees rounding out the podium. Jack Hedgecoke's in fourth with Dave Menino coming home in fifth. David Bush III, our top Pro-Am driver, with Nicholas Gowen finishing in seventh and the second place in the Pro-Am side of things. Matt Stanek in eighth. Jay Steffi rounds out the podium in Pro-Am. Joshua Chinsky rounding out the top 10. Sean Provo, our top AM driver, in 11th. Josh Spears in 12th. Pete Mejia, our second place AM driver. And Guillermo Perez rounding out the podium in AM. Josh Gowen in 15th. Patrick Farrell comes home in 16th. Berquist, Victor, Thurman, and Pankari going to round out the top 20.
In 21st, we have Zach Mosley, followed by Dave Jensen in 22nd. 23rd is Chip Michaels. Javi Sierra in 24th. Jason Park brings in 25th. 26th and 27th are Roy Brown and Robert Jeffries, followed by Seb Gauthier in 28th, David Morse in 29th, and Colin McKenzie in 30th. Drew Deweese, I believe, in 31st, followed by James Hammond, 32nd. Andrew Trickett with a late incident in the race coming in 33rd. And then we have Neil Alexander, Ian Cabana, Hillman, Herbert Pineda, Tyler Pastor, Christopher Rhines bringing up the rear.
Nicely done. 40 cars. Actually, 40 cars. Mark File, unfortunately, out early on. They even qualify him or officially qualify him behind our admins. It's a rough race for Mark File. But we got a couple drivers in the booth here waiting to chat with us. Let's bring in our overall winner, J.R. Williams. J.R., nice race out there this evening. Looks like maybe a little bit of strategy between you and teammate Chris Sprecher to get out front early on, trying to build up a nice gap over the rest of the field here and just kind of put it on cruise control towards the end.
Yeah, for sure. At the start, I didn't want to attack him, like you said. I didn't. No reason to risk it, especially with the championship and stuff. So, just tried to stay with him. He had really good. I mean, he was faster than me, but I just was able to stay in the tow and then got the overcut.
You had me a little worried when I was looking at the pit stop times, where you were one of the quickest, if not the quickest time out there. I was a little worried. I knew you were in draft for the most part behind Sprecher, saving some fuel, but I was kind of hoping that you had enough there, because that last lap run up the hill to the flag can be brutal if you're kind of sipping and starving of fuel heading over there, but thankfully you were able to make it through. How are you feeling heading into a Silverstone in Nürburgring the last two rounds? You're going to head into that with a bit of a lead in the championship battle.
Yeah, no, it should be. I mean, those are great tracks. I don't remember. I think it's the WEC layout for Nürburgring, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good time. I don't know how the Merc's going to be there. I'm hoping it's competitive. Obviously, it was kind of the dominant car this week, so I had a bit of an advantage here. Yeah, just hoping to have a good time. Just take it one race at a time.
Well, excellent stuff. Strategy played out well for you today, JR. If you want to give any shout outs here before we let you go?
Yeah, shout out to Chris. He's just amazing pace tonight. And then shout out to my wife for actually putting up with all this every week. So it's a lot to ask. So I'm glad to have such a nice wife.
They're always the young unsung heroes, right? They let us play our games and cause all kind of havoc in the house. So well done, JR. Best of luck heading into the final two rounds. I'm no doubt I expect we'll see you at the sharp end of the field those two rounds. So best of luck heading into next week.
Hope to see you soon.
Take care, JR. So that was our overall winner, J.R. Williams. Taking a quick look here. Looks like we've got Chris Smrecker, our second place finisher, in the booth to catch up with Morgan Smith.
Good afternoon, Chris. It's a pleasure to have you here in the booth with us. Good race out of the two Mercedes teammates up front. How did you feel about the first half versus the second half with the overcut from J.R. Williams?
Yeah, thanks, boys. Good to be here. Good to get the result. Yeah, the overcut's tough. To be honest, I did the first few laps. I knew I had good pace here, and I really tried to break them instead of fuel save. I probably should have went, looking back, hindsight 2020, probably should have just went into fuel save mode right away and tried to match them on the pit stop. But yeah, really, I think that's what it came down to. Second half, I knew just tried to push and put in as many hard laps as I could, and it was cutting tenths, and then he'd make up a few, and then I'd cut maybe 3 to 4 tenths out, and just kind of ran out of time and tires at the end there.
Absolutely. I did see you take some time off in the middle there, but you seemed to gain it back just as fast as you said, a good give and take. So you guys had some clean air tonight. The Mercedes, definitely a dominant car at Road America. How do you feel with the car moving forward into the next couple of rounds?
Yeah, really good. It should perform well at Silverstone, and I like the WEC layout at the Nürburgring too. So some long straightaways there where the Merc could definitely take advantage, and some of the heavier braking zones too, where I feel like if you can nail the trail braking in the Merc, it pays you back tenfold. So yeah, shout out to JR, man. He's great at managing the race from that perspective. Even when he gets a little bit of a lead, he knows when to push and dial it back. So this week, kind of go back, look at what he did, maybe review the race, try to learn from him, and be better prepared next time.
Absolutely. There's always something to learn outside driving the car when it comes to planning a full 45-minute race with a pit stop. So pleasure to see. Always learning mentality. That's great to see you out of the SRT, guys. Do you have anyone you want to say thank you to before we let you go?
Oh, for sure. My dad, I know he's watching. He's tuning in at home. He's probably stoked on the result, but wish I could have got the dub, but there's always next week. So
thank you for coming into the booth today, sir.
Yep. Take care, guys. Thanks.
That was Chris Smrecker, our second overall finisher. Let's round out the overall podium as well as the pro podium. Here, Jim Flees. Jim, pretty uneventful race for you, kind of on an island. Most of it, you're able to break away early on with Smrecker and Williams, but looked like the Acura just didn't quite have the pace. Actually, looked like none of the other cars had the pace to keep up with the Mercs out front this week at Road America.
Yeah, I would say that's a good summary, and I would say things went pretty according to plan. I think the Acura is maybe lacking a little bit of the top speed, so my goal was really just to stay with Chris and JR for as long as I could, hope to establish a gap, and then just see if I could hang on to it. So yeah, went exactly according to the game plan, and was able to hang on for the third place. So great result.
He came into the race here, I believe, in fourth in the championship, a little bit back behind Hedgecoats, Stadnick, and Williams, who were all pretty much tied or separated by 1 point. You're going to pick up a couple points on Stadnick and Hedgecoats heading into Silverstone. How are you thinking of your chances here to move up in the championship standings? Think you still have a chance with 2 races to go, or you pretty much feel like you're more or less battling for fourth or fifth with Dave Menino?
It's probably more fourth or fifth at this point. A lot can still happen, but I think there's a pretty good gap back from third to fourth at the moment. And, those drivers are so consistent and quick every week, and I think it'll be pretty tough to pick up a whole lot of points on them unless, something crazy happens. So just keep doing the best I can every week, and we'll see how things shake out.
How you feeling about heading to Silverstone next week? It's a track that probably plays a little bit more to the Acura, not quite as high paced with the Maggots Beckett's section. I think will probably play really well for the Acura. You feeling kind of confident heading into next week, or you think that it's going to be more of a chase the Mercedes again?
I think that's all true. There's definitely some high-speed corners in there that'll kind of play to the Acura's strength and grip levels. But Silverstone is also just a really high-speed circuit at the end of the day, and there's no replacement for displacement, and those Mercedes are pretty quick in a straight line. So I think it'll be tough to catch them, especially knowing how quick Chris and JR are. But we'll see what we do next week.
Best of luck to you, JR. Anybody you want to give a shout out here before we let you go?
Yeah, just hi to the folks at home. Thanks to all the people on the team for the practices this week, and thanks to you guys for putting on another great broadcast. Appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate it, Jim. Best of luck to you next week, and 2 more races to go. Let's see you up at the sharp end again.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rob.
Take care. That was our third place finisher in the overall as well as the pro class, Jim Flees. Let's bring in our top pro-am driver, David Bush III, to catch up with Morgan Smith.
David Bush III in the MadWorks Lamborghini. As a Lamborghini driver myself, I want to say it was a pleasure to watch you being competitive up there with those lead drivers. How did you feel tonight?
Overall, I felt pretty great considering all the testing showed that I was not going to have this well of a night. But I did what I had to do to keep the car up front, and thankfully was able to bring it home.
Absolutely. I know Herbert Pineda and his Mustang were, up ahead of you a little bit, but seems like he fell victim to an incident there, and you were able to capitalize on the podium spot for P1 and Pro-Am. So unfortunate for him, but a good safe driving out of you. Do you have any, hopes and aspirations for next week at Silverstone?
The hope is just to stay as high up in the points as I can. So we'll just play it by ear and hope that I can keep up what I've got going at the moment.
Absolutely. Is there anyone you want to shout out while you're here in the booth with us?
Shout out to Colin, as always, makes the fabulous paints over at Lunatic, and all of you for putting on the broadcast for this. It's been great so far to see everybody supporting the league, and hope that it can grow over this next season.
Well, thanks for talking with us. I can attest to a good-looking Lamborghini when I see one, and that paint is nothing to sneeze at. So that's a good-looking car. Shout out to Painter over at MadWorks, and we hope to see you leading the Pro-Am and speak to you again next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was our Pro-Am winner, David Bush III. Let's bring in our second place in Pro-Am, Jay Steffi. Jay, nice race for you there. We saw you kind of up and down the standings, battling it out. A couple drivers you got intermingled in with, fell back a little bit, worked your way back up. But overall, I'd say it's a fairly comfortable race here for you at Road America.
Yeah, it was fun. I got left by the really, really fast guys, so I was in no man's land for most of the race. Just having fun, just cruising.
We had Jim Flees in here. He was saying that it felt like the Acura was down a little bit on power compared to some of the other cars. How did it feel from your end out there competing with, say, the McLarens and the Mercedes and maybe even the Corvette?
Maybe it just shows the limitations of me as a driver, but I thought it was great. So
we head to Silverstone next week. You're embroiled in the Pro-Am championship battle. How are you feeling heading into the last 2 weeks?
I'm going to do everything I can to keep up with Nick and keep Josh behind me. It's going to be tough.
Well, best of luck to you, Jay. Anybody you want to shout out here quickly before we let you
go? Every time we say thank you to you guys for broadcasting, and I want to say shout out to the league and all the drivers, everybody except Nick Gowen and Josh Kaczynski. Everybody's good people. I like them. The other two, yeah, you guys can leave.
Championships are championships, right? There's no friends in what do they say? No friends in love and war.
Thanks,
so
guys.
Best of luck, Jay. Take care. That was Jay Steffi, our second place driver in Pro-Am. Let's bring in Nicholas Gowen, our final step in the Pro-Am side of things, also embroiled, came in leading the Pro-Am side of things with points to catch up with Morgan Smith.
Nick, thank you for joining us in the booth here. Very eventful race in the mid-pack. How did you feel about the battles you were going through here at Road America?
Pretty good. Pretty difficult to get around people. It's very, especially if the car in front of you's got a tow, it's very difficult to get around somebody. But felt pretty good about the pace. There was a couple incidents where I used my fenders a little bit more than I would have liked. But I guess that's going to happen when the cars are so close together.
Yeah, the grid was very close together all night long. You were definitely embroiled in some good heated battles in the mid-pack. Like you said, when everyone's in line, it can be hard to find that passing opportunity, but there was some guys making small mistakes for everyone in line and people capitalizing, gaining, and losing 1 or 2 spots at a time. So it was exciting to see you out there. How do you feel about the McLaren going into next week at Silverstone and the last couple races for the championship?
We'll see. I mean, I've never driven the GT3s at Silverstone, so that's going to be a track that I'm going to have to learn. I've done other things like GT4s and LMP2s there, but not the GT3. So it's going to be a new learning experience. And then I think the last week is Nürburgring, which is a pretty fun track, but I don't have to go out there and win. I just need to keep my nose clean, unlike tonight. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully I don't get a penalty, but I guess fingers crossed for that. So, but yeah, otherwise feeling good.
Beautiful. Is there anyone you'd like to shout out while you're here speaking to us?
Thank you guys for doing the broadcast. Thanks to admins for putting on the league, and thanks to friends and family watching at home. Appreciate you guys tuning in each and every race, and we'll catch you next week.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Nicholas. Hopefully we see you on another podium spot next week at Silverstone.
All right. Thank you guys.
That was Nick Goen rounding out our Pro-Am podium. Let's bring in our AM winner, Sean Provo. Sean, nice race out there. You're able to keep the car clean, not without being in any battles, though. We saw you and Colin McKenzie really going at it towards I'd say most of the last half of the race, really battling it out tooth and nail, a little bumping and grinding here and there. Looks like McKenzie took a little spill in the last corner, and from that point in time, you were able to just pull ahead and kind of clinch your top spot in AM.
Yep, man, you said it. You said it all. Shout out to Colin. We were having a great race, and unfortunately, he took a spin, and he also, you know, the cars that I was competing with in AM had to slow down to dodge him, so he kind of helped me out with that spin, but I hate it for him. We were having a great race, ton of fun. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Can't believe it.
Now, I think if I remember correctly, I'm having a look here at the standings. I think you were the top place Ford driver too as well. Herbert Pineda was up front, but he had a little bit of an issue, fell back towards the end. But how would the Mustang feel out there? It was basically a sea of McLarens and Acuras with a couple of Mercedes out front, but the Mustang looked like it was fairly competitive in your hands.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and it felt great. Honestly, all week in practice, I felt like it had some advantages, like in the carousel, and obviously, you know, going down the straights, I was able to catch up with people that I was drafting, and yeah, it felt great. I mean, I had a great race with it, and it finally feels like it's kind of sticking to the road for me.
How are you feeling it's going to fare in Silverstone next week? It's a track that somewhat similar. It's got some high-paced sections, but it also has a really twisty area of Maggots, Beckett's. How do you feel the Mustang is going to perform there next week?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm hopeful, but I'll give it a 50-50 chance that it's going to feel like it did tonight. I just don't know yet. I need to do some laps and see.
Get those laps in, and hopefully we see you at the front again, Sean. Anybody want to give a shout out here before we let you go?
Sure, yeah. All the SRT boys, as usual, their help is invaluable, and I got to give a special shout out to Joshua Chinsky. He was my practice partner this week, and he really got me ready. So thanks to all those guys, and thanks to you guys for all that you do.
Appreciate that, Sean. Best of luck next week. 2 rounds to go. We hope to see you at the front sharp end again next week too as well. So take care.
Thank you, sir. You too. Bye-bye.
Was our AM winner, Sean Provo. Let's bring in our only camera car this week, Brent Pancari. Brett, we saw you kind of wrapped up in a number of battles here this week. That battle kind of went from about 17th place to 21st place with you and a number of other drivers. It looked like any little mistake there amongst the 7 or 8 of you cost a number of spots, and it looked like you had a bit of a slowdown there at one point in time, bailed out, gave up a couple spots, but you're able to keep going. How'd the race go from your end of things?
On. Oh, there we go. Sorry, my push lock wasn't working. Yeah. Well, early on, I accidentally shook my fist at Jakob Fichtner there. He gave me a little bump there, and I saw the dive bombs. I shook my fist, and I just saw that I got it on camera. So, whoops. Sorry about that, Jakob. You have to be watching this. But yeah, like any bobble at the brawling mid pack, it was a ticking time bomb basically, and I was kind of really tensed up about that. So I actually bailed. I didn't get a slowdown, so I let Furman and I think it was Andrew go. So I let them go, and then I got back by Andrew when basically the time bomb was about to go off. I thought so. That's why I let them go. So I think this is my best result of the year so far. Yeah, Silverstone next. Probably back to more struggles, I think, because I don't really drive the Mustang that much. And the only reason I took it just for A, for variety, and B, I could have like a actual somewhat different paint, because some of my other cars, they don't have numbers on them, so the lead decals are gonna override that. So like this, if my phone cooperates, this is not Acura, this is a Pontiac. So that's kind of the other problems. I'm trying to be different compared to everyone else.
It's definitely a different paint scheme. I always get a kick out of the Hi, I'm Daisy Project 91 team name. We actually had a debate in the booth here when we saw you pull off. I thought maybe it was a slowdown, but Morgan thought you were just kind of possibly pulling out, trying to avoid some of the heat that was on in that battle. And it looks like Morgan was right. Now I got to give a shout out for your shirt there, Brett, as a Kitchener native myself. Throwing the Kitchener Rangers shirt on the stream. Not only would you get airtime for the face cam here too as well, I might even give you a little extra time just for the Kitchener Rangers dress too as well.
Yeah, actually, even though like both Kitchener fans, I'm actually in Sault Ste. Marie, home of the Greyhounds.
We gotta let you go now, Brett. Sorry.
Well, the reason for that is because I want to be different. First, I'm not going for the hometown team. So Kitchener was the field of my New York Rangers back in the day. So that's why I did that. So yeah, that's why I had the Kitchener stuff on.
Well, I can't blame you for not wanting to represent the Sioux, but best of luck next week. Brett, how are you feeling? You said you weren't feeling all that comfortable with Silverstone next week, but how are you feeling about finishing up at Nürburgring the following week to end the season?
I think it's more just because of the car. I haven't driven the Mustang that much, and sometimes it can be evil on the rear end, and that kind of hurt me at Misano and a little bit at the bend before I got bulldozed in the hairpin. So that's kind of why I'm a little uneasy about it. Probably Nürburgring will be more comfortable with that. So we'll see how it is. I'll probably qualify in the 30s again. Then I'll probably somehow maybe go up like 10 spots when they all destroy each other. So, but that's really my fun thing is going to be going into those races.
Well, best of luck to you, Brett. We hope to see you mixed in amongst some battles for some top spots again next week. Take care.
All right. Well, thanks. And quickly, the guys Splash and Go Graphics, I thank them. Also, the guys at Project 91 Racing. I am a part of that team, but every time I try to run like a big event, like say Indy 6 Hour, work gets in the way. I only ran 2 races with the team, and it was Daytona 24 and Nürburgring 24. We won GT3 and GT4 classes, and also finally, I gotta really thank Abruzzi Racewear. They somehow pulled this off. I don't know how they pulled this off, but I just want to hug them because this is basically what my thing is in the sim with my driver's suit there. So they somehow pulled this off. I just want to thank them for that.
Yeah, it's some nice work. Jimmy Broadbent and Abruzzi, excellent stuff there. I got a pair of their gloves, and they're probably the best gloves I have. So take care, Brett. Hope to see you battling again next week.
Thanks. Like I said, if I just getting it for warning people over the years, I was usually run the back anyway. So thanks.
Take care. That was Brett Pancari. So that's going to wrap it up this week here for our driver interviews. Morgan, I should take and give a quick shout out here. I just realized that I forgot. Thursday this week, Formula 4 race. Throttle Freaks is expanding Formula 4 next season, as well as bringing back the sprint side of the GT3 too as well. So you'll have a GT3 Fix, GT3 Sprint, as well as Formula 4 recruitment race this Thursday. The information's on there. You can find it. It will be broadcast. Join the Discord for all the information there too as well if you're an F4 fan, and we will see you Thursday night for that. But otherwise, that's going to wrap it up for us here at Road America. Mo, any final thoughts here on the race?
No, honestly, just a pleasure to watch the Throttle Freak drivers get around the track. These guys are definitely competitive, a lot of good lap times, and everyone's staying in line and making good decisions. So a very exciting race to watch. Good weather at Road America. It's a beautiful track, and we'll be likely diving into the rain and the fog next week. So it was a good break and some good sunshine today for some good racing.
Well, we'll see what the weather gods give us next week. But for Morgan Smith, I'm Rob Campbell. This has been Pit Road Productions. We'll catch you next week for some more Throttle Freaks racing at Silverstone. Bye for now.